Hello, welcome to 10 at 10. My name is Michael Ramage. I'm the director of the Cyber Center here at Murray State University. 10 at 10 is brought to you through a partnership between Murray State University, Grow West, the Technology Council of West Kentucky, KY Innovation, and local partner Sprocket Innovation in Paducah and the Kentucky Innovation Station in Madisonville. Last week, I mentioned that we were going to wrap up 2021 today on this New Year's Eve while we talk about trends and predictions for 2022. And it's December, it's that time of the year where everybody wants to predict what they think's going to happen in 20 or the following year. So for this year, trying to predict what's going to happen in 2022. There's two different ways that I see it a lot. One is by prediction, and one is by the trends that we're expecting to see in the coming year. So I want to talk a little bit about what these are, what the predictions are for 2022, and then next week I want to begin a few weeks talking about in January. I want to talk about two different things in January. I want to talk about some of the steps, reiterating some of the steps we've talked about before that can specifically address some of the trends that the experts are thinking that we'll see in 2022. And second, I want to start a discussion on privacy. There's been a lot in the news over the last several months talking about privacy. I believe some of the trends are going to impact privacy. I think that there's going to be some regulations coming in the next couple years on privacy, on data privacy, and what does that mean, and should that look like? So we're going to talk about that as well. But let's get into. There are two different sources, and we'll see how we're doing on time and see how far we get. But Forbes put out an article a little bit ago, 5 biggest cybersecurity trends that they expect or they predict we will see in 2022. And all of these are, if you're in this space, if you think about it, they're probably pretty obvious. Some of these trends we are starting to see already. But I do think that we're going to continue to see these trends growing in 2022. And first is AI powered cybersecurity. AI, artificial intelligence. For years, the analogy that Forbes used is that for years we have used some sort of artificial intelligence in the financial industry to look for check fraud. I can remember that I bought something at Walmart, went next door, living in Nashville, and bought something at Sam's. And then drove back closer to my home and realized we forgot to get something else at Walmart and went to another Walmart, and they declined my card because they thought that looked suspicious. That same mindset, let's use AI power to look at cybersecurity and decide if there are threats, if there are breaches, if there are bad actors on our network. Let's use some artificial intelligence to try to figure that out. And we're already starting to do that a little bit. Certainly think that's going to grow as we go forward, and as machine learning and AI become more and more sophisticated and the opportunities grow, I think that's going to continue to improve. The growing threat of ransomware. You're going to see this mentioned a little bit more, but the growing threat of ransomware. Here's the threat of ransomware. That right now they've been targeting larger companies, small companies too, individuals as well, but the big dollars have been in large companies. The economists are expecting by the end of this year, so in 2021, the cost, the amount of money lost to ransomware is going to top $6 trillion. Yet Forbes is predicting that trend is even growing in 2022. So where's that going to go? That's going to go to small businesses. That's going to go to smaller enterprises, medium sized enterprises. Beyond just the large multi-million-dollar payday, we're going to get even more and more. Right now, small businesses are getting it, individuals are getting it, but it's through phishing attempts. It's through different activities that cause you to be more vulnerable. I think that and what they're predicting is that that's going to continue to trickle down, because now where you have software as a service and platform as a service and all these different cloud-based type situations where you can buy a server, you can buy ransomware. So now there are bad actors that are selling ransomware as a service, and that's just going to cause um, the popularity of ransomware. And I hate using that word, but that's really what it is, to even grow more. Um, Another one is the Internet of Vulnerable Things. IoT is something that people have been talking about for a while. We're only now in the last little bit starting to see attacks on those IoT devices. Think about your house. How many devices at your house do you have connected to the internet? It's a question I always ask high school groups. I like to talk to them because they're the target of technology in many ways. How many in your house? How many devices do you have connected to the internet? Well, in my house, actually, right now, I don't have any because my internet's been down since the tornado, going on 3 weeks. Um, but normally, for me, that number's over 20, over 30, maybe over 40 devices in my house connected to the internet. Not all of those devices are um, computers. They're phones, they're tablets, they're smart home devices. There's a lot of things in my house connected to the internet. That's true of a lot of our homes. That's true of a lot of our businesses. That's true of our hospitals. That's true of a lot of areas, manufacturing facilities that aren't as secure as what your server might be. And I think that we're going to continue to see those vulnerable IoT devices being a target of attackers. So that's something to certainly be on the lookout for. Cybersecurity risk and exposure as a key factor in partnership decisions. Now, this is interesting to me because if you're partnering with someone, um, what has happened, let me back up. What we started seeing last year, more than maybe the last 18 months, more than before, is supply chain attacks. What we have to look at is not just how secure is our business, but how secure are all the people that we trust. So now, if you're going to go into business with an organization, you're going to start looking at, what do I need to start thinking about? Because are they secure? Or by me trusting them, is it going to make me more vulnerable? The answer is probably yes, but there's an acceptable a level of risk that your company's probably willing to take. There's some exposure that's going to be there. Hopefully, it's minimal. Hopefully, it's very small. But that's going to be a factor now in partnership decisions. Um, the last one here, regulation starting to catch up with risk. So there's a couple of ways of looking at this and talking about this. In Europe, there are data privacy laws that are very stringent, much more stringent than what most of the U.S. has. California has some privacy or some data protections as well. There are a couple of other states that have done some things, but the regulations aren't really there right now. Policy always lags technology, just always has and probably always will. But I think this year we're going to start seeing some of those things catching up with what we're doing, with what we're seeing. I think that we're going to see some of those things catch up because, frankly, it's going to have to. And that's why I want to talk about data privacy. Is that what's our what are we able to tolerate? Obviously, I'm streaming this on Facebook and on YouTube, and we share a lot on Facebook, and we share a lot on YouTube, and we share a lot on Twitter, and we share a lot on TikTok and Instagram and all these different platforms. We also share a lot with businesses and organizations. So, what is it that we are willing to share? What is that level of risk that we're able to do? I think that we're, from going back to the partnership decisions, uh, if that partner has to follow more regulation because they're based in Europe or they do operations in Europe, then maybe we don't want to do that because there's a lot more regulatory requirements there. Maybe we don't want, on the flip side, that we're a business that takes security serious and that we try to do all of those things that we should. Then we want to make sure all the other businesses that we work with are following those same strict guidelines that we are. It's the right thing to do, honestly. It's the right thing to take those steps to keep our customers' data private and safe. But it also costs money. So there's a risk there, risk reward balance that you have to think about. Well, I'm going to stop there. I know I mentioned that I had a couple on here. We won't get to that today, but I do think that these are some of the 5 big overriding trends that we're gonna see, over the coming year. I think that there are certainly other things that we are gonna see. We're gonna see old attacks on new targets. We're gonna see those people that have been compromised, or those vulnerabilities that we've used to compromise other companies this year. You're gonna see people targeting new companies that haven't patched. Social engineering is going to continue. Some of the old threats that we have seen are going to continue. But what I'd ask from you is to drop me a line, send me a text, send me an email, put it in the chat. What threats, what trends, what um, predictions do you have for 2022 in cybersecurity? What do you think we're going to see? What do you hope that we see? What do you hope we don't see? I'd be interested to hear from you. As always, your feedback is valuable, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate you watching. I hope this has been interesting. I hope this has given you something to think about for 2022. We certainly need to be aware of what's coming up. We also need to make sure that we're planning to protect our businesses even more in 2022 than we did in 2021. With that, have a very happy New Year's, and I'll see you next week back here on 10 at 10. Thank you. Bye.